It's time to recap The Amazing Race Season 37, Episode 3. And this time around, the team stayed in Japan, but we traveled from Osaka to Kyoto, and they took the bullet train, which was really exciting. So let's get into this. Okay, so as I said, the teams find out they're going to go to Kyoto, and they have to take the bullet train, which I have to say looks so fun. I would love to experience that.
Love to ride the bullet train. I wish we had them here, but unfortunately we don't.
I know. I need one from like here to Kansas City. You guys know I'm always there. I need that transit.
You're 2 hour, two and a half.
Yeah, I need to get there in like
30 minutes.
Yeah,
maybe.
15 minutes max would be great. Yeah, exactly. So, okay, here's what I love though. We talked about this the last recap, but like this season is really so unpredictable because we keep seeing placements jump around, and we saw that to be true on this round too, because Lori and Scott keep jumping ahead. The married duo from Utah with like the 8 sons or whatever it is. So anyway, that was like kind of exciting to see. Okay, explain this first little thing they had to do.
Okay, so once they get off the bullet train, they get their clue. They have to go to this, it's almost like a little temple.
Yeah.
And they have to get a piece of fortune paper from a vendor.
Yeah.
And then dip it into the water to reveal their next clue.
It was very interesting.
It is very interesting. Because, I mean, you also have to remember, if you're going to forget your clue, you're going to need some water.
Yep.
Because one team actually did later on that was falling behind.
Yeah, it was interesting to see that. So then from there, they have to go play Kamari, which is the samurai version of soccer. Here's what was interesting though, is it was so specific in the way that you essentially played with a small group of people, and you yourself had to kick the ball 5 times, which sounds simple, and some of the teams really knocked it out of the park, and other teams really struggled with it to the point where for some of them it was the reason that they were in last place or close to the end of the pack, which was interesting. Now, we've talked about how this has also kind of been like the season of twists and surprises and all these crazy things. So the Express Pass returns in this episode, which essentially you just have to be the first one to complete some kind of challenge in said episode, and then you get the Express Pass, which at your discretion you're allowed to use to basically move past one challenge. You just don't have to do it. So Jonathan and Anna are the ones that end up getting the Express Pass. Now, it was through Kamari, right?
Yeah, so for Kamari, normally just one person has to do the challenge, but to get the Express Pass, both of you, the team members had to do it. And so there were the 3 people in the lead were Scott and Lori, Carson and Jack, and then Jonathan and Anna.
Yeah.
Well, Scott and Lori were like, we're not going to even try it.
Yeah.
And then the other 2 teams were really trying. Jonathan was very mad at Anna because she was struggling. And it just solidifies me not liking them as much. But then they ended up getting it. I will say, I thought this seemed like an easier task than normal for this Express Pass.
I do too, but this is what's interesting is like with the Express Pass, you're kind of taking a gamble because it's like, what's the term, like high risk, high reward type mindset, because you know, like you said, you both have to get it. And so if one of you is struggling, then you may be kind of messing yourself up time-wise because other people are getting ahead, whereas if you just did it alone, whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, here's what's interesting though. So we had one team in the back of the pack that really struggled from the jump of this. Explain this part to me.
Yeah, so Courtney and Jasmine, like I kind of hinted at earlier, when they went to get their fortune paper, they didn't write it down.
Yeah.
Which, looking at the paper, I didn't see the English translation.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing it either.
So I was curious how they translated that. So then when they're trying to find somebody to tell them where to go, it dries up on them.
Yeah.
Luckily, they have a bottle of water, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, this really kind of put them behind. And I kind of feel like if they would have not forgotten, they would have done a little bit better.
Well, and then when the girls get to Kamari, they really struggle with this challenge. Like they could not get, and they felt really bad because, I'm trying to think. Okay, Courtney, I think, is the one that ended up doing it. But Jasmine was like, I feel bad because I'm the one that has this like more athletic background, so I should have done it. And so anyway, again, it comes down to like key strengths and kind of figuring out who would be better to do things. It's really pivotal on The Amazing Race. So from there, then we go to the detour, which this was incredibly fascinating. I'll explain more in a second, but it was fling it or fold it. So basically, fling it was like you had 3 different things that you had to get. So one was like the blowing of the dart.
There's a blow
type
dart,
thing.
the ninja stars, and then like little pins. I don't really know what those are called.
And here's the thing. It sounds simple because it's like, imagine like playing darts at your favorite local bar or like going axe throwing. But not one team successfully did this. Some of the teams just went to the fold it immediately, but a lot of the teams went to fling it, think it would be easy, and they all end up leaving to go to fold it. Now, I will say it was interesting how much time people spent on it.
They did spend a lot of time.
And I will say, I think that's like a pro tip, not that I've ever been on the show, but I know teams have said this to me in the past when I've interviewed them, is like, you should have a rule for yourself that you'll never spend over X amount of time, whatever that looks like for you and your team on
smart.
a challenge.
Yeah.
Because we see, I'm blanking on their names, but the like dating nurses or whatever they
the
were.
married nurses, yeah.
Yeah, the married nurses, they stayed on it really long and they were really frustrated. And so did the brothers too. The brothers spent a little too much time. And again, that really set you back because then you still have to go and start from the beginning on the other challenge.
Well, a lot of people, the darts and the ninja stars, they were like,
Yeah.
oh, this is easy. But it was the little pins they couldn't get to stick in the board. And at practice, you had an unlimited amount. But then when you got to the actual like part where you had to do it was just three of each thing. I honestly thought Fling It would have been easier myself.
Yeah, and it seemed easier, but I don't know. I don't think I would have done good at it either. So then we have Fold It, which I thought this was really interesting. So basically they had to make this like life-size, if you will, origami. And so you had to follow this very strict kind of pattern and way of doing it from these little kids in Kyoto, which I thought was cute. And then they had to do it. And this was what was interesting. Again, some teams made it look very easy, and some teams, this kind of was their kryptonite. Like they really, really struggled. It took them a long time, and the specific folding like really challenged some people. Here's what was interesting though, is how people respond to high emotions. Like I think this was like another testament to that, because you see the siblings kind of get frustrated with each other. Another one of the dating couples kind of got frustrated with her. I'm trying to think. But then you have someone like Jasmine and Courtney, where even though they were in the back of the pack the entire episode, they still were so kind to each other and like so encouraging and so affirming, and like nothing ever really changed as far as like attitude or tone went, which again, I think is vital on a race like this.
Absolutely.
Now, I don't know, we'll tell you in a second, I don't know if that hurts or helps them ultimately, but it was interesting to see that. What I think is interesting too is, like we said, with the placements continually changing, it really makes it so exciting as a viewer, because when I tell you for the first time in seasons, I feel like I have no idea who's going to win. Like I truly have no idea.
Yeah.
Because every time I'm like, because we end up going to the pit stop, right? Lori and Scott end up getting first, the married couple we mentioned earlier. Lori and Scott were closer to the back of the pack in the first episode.
Yeah, they've really jumped up.
And not to stereotype, but to stereotype on the show, just by the optics of them, you would not think that they would do really well. And they killed it, and they also got really close the last time. So it just proves that you just need that one thing or that one or two things that really like you just randomly are good at, or maybe it's a personal strength of yours, and it will get you ahead in a show like this.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think that's interesting. And then last place, unfortunately, was Courtney and Jasmine. They just could not get ahead of all their mistakes in the day.
In these 3 episodes, I feel like the navigation part always got to them. The taxis, they had trouble getting taxi again in this episode, I think. And then them not writing down that clue in the water really hurt them, I feel like.
It is really hard. And it's so interesting, too, because here's the thing. They went and they were so, like I said, encouraging to each other. They were a great team. But it's only going to get more intense. And I think some of these teams in the back really are going to struggle. Like, we kind of saw this more aggressive side of Han and Holden come out, and I'm interested to see how that plays into that. And then I will say, Bernie and Kerrigan played it a little bit nicer this time, but I don't think it's going to last much longer.
Well, and like I said, Jonathan and Anna. Jonathan doesn't like when Anna messes up. And at some point, that's really going to probably test them.
It's also interesting because, if I'm not mistaken, that's the couple that Phil teased was essentially coming on the show to kind of fix their marriage in a sense. And I'm like, not to be this person, I have no room to judge, but I'm like, the cracks are showing, right? And that's why I'm like, I don't know. And I said this to Phil in the interview. I was like, I don't know if, like, Amazing Grace is a weird way to go about couples counseling. And I think this is proving that, because Jonathan is proving that when things are good, he's great. When things are bad, he doesn't know how to handle it, and he gets really frustrated and kind of passes the blame. Like, I would love to see Jonathan take accountability for something that he's doing wrong on the race. You know what I'm saying? Not to say that, like, he's done a million things wrong, but I'm like, you can't blame it all on your wife either.
Exactly.
You know?
So true.
So it's been very interesting season so far. I will say, I looked it up, and on the next episode, they leave Japan and they go to Bali, which I think will be really cool.
That'll be really cool.
I'm excited to see where that goes. Again, I really love when they go this far starting in Asia and keep traveling back, because I just think they're going to hit so many cool places. Like, I know Bali's next. I know Phil teased they go to Bulgaria. I feel like they go to France again. I don't know, something.
That's really cool.
So yeah, there's like all these random places, and then I'm very excited to see where we end up in the finale, because we always end in an American city, and I don't know where that is yet.
Well,
so we'll see.
They left on the West Coast. Maybe they'll do East Coast.
Maybe.
But then also too, the Fork in the Road comes next episode. which will be very interesting.
Yes, that's true. No, it's the driver's seat.
Oh, driver's seat, my
The
bad.
driver's seat, yes,
driver's
which will be
seat,
very interesting. I forgot about that. So this is a new twist they're doing, where essentially the first person to get to this driver's seat clue then kind of decides how things will work for all the other teams for that leg, which is going to be crucial. And let me just say, I have no idea who gets the driver's seat, but the promo for the next episode made it look like it gets spicy and a little bit drama.
I don't know for sure, but I saw this. It seems like based on a picture we saw of like the driver's seat board, that whoever gets there decides how much like weight they're carrying in their backpack.
Oh.
I don't know if that's true or not, but that'd be very interesting.
Well, that would make sense though, because in whatever the challenge is for the next episode, it looks like they're doing a lot of like carrying of something through fields in Bali.
Oh.
So it would be interesting. I don't know. We will see what happens. That's all for episode 3 though. Amazing Race Wednesdays on CBS. Do not miss it.